What's going on, everyone? So we have some interesting news. So far, the Knicks Timberwolves Hornets 3-team trade that involved Karl Anthony Towns as well as Julius Randle is not finalized. It has not been completed yet. This is very interesting. So Ramona Shelburne, as well as several other sources, but Ramona was the first one that I saw relay this information. So we'll use her. She says that the Knicks Timberwolves Hornets trade involving Julius Randle, Karl Anthony Towns, and Dante DiVincenzo is still on track, but not completed yet. The expectation is early this week, sources tell ESPN, which means the players involved will not be at Media Day as camps start to open Monday. Now, this is very interesting for several reasons. Obviously, one, it's like, well, why isn't this done yet? All the pieces, everything, you get the green light, all is good. You think that they would want to finalize this sooner rather than later, kind of get guys acclimated, get guys ready for camp, as well as Media Day and their new jerseys and all that. It's not like this happened last night. You've had a couple days in between to get everything kind of finalized. Also, this means that none of the coaches, none of the players, nobody can actually reference or talk about this trade because it's not finalized. So like Tibbs can't speak on Karl Anthony Towns because he's technically not a player, and that would be tampering, right? So it's going to be a very tricky, sticky situation in Media Day for both the Timberwolves as well as the Knicks. Hopefully the media doesn't try to slip anybody up or trick anybody, because again, you could cause some turmoil or you could cause some problems. But also it begs the question of what happens if this falls through? Now, it is expected to get done. It is still on track to get done, but we've seen throughout the history of this league many trades that were agreed to that we're basically getting ready to sign, seal, deliver, and somebody backs out, or somebody wants more, or a player kind of interferes, or somebody says something, and it falls apart, crumbles, and becomes a mess, right? The Lakers Chris Paul trade is probably one of the most famous ones, where that deal was literally finalized. It was done, and the NBA came in and vetoed it. We've seen teams, DeAndre Jordan, right, where he was going to the Dallas Mavericks, and then the Clippers locked him into his house, right? Like, we've seen several instances where deals looked done. They were finalized, or they were close to finalized, or something happened. So what happens if this deal falls apart? I mean, this could be a disaster for teams like the Knicks and the Timberwolves, because now the Timberwolves, they have no choice but to trade Karl Anthony Towns at that point, and they wouldn't have much leverage point at that point, right? Like, it could be a mess. Now, chances are I would be personally shocked if this doesn't get done. I want to make that clear. I want to be clear that, hey, this is going to get done in my opinion. But again, nothing is finalized until it's finalized. And stranger things have happened, especially in sports, especially when you're talking trades. What happens if the Hornets decide, you know what, we want a little more, or we want something else to be a part of the third team, right? Now, all of a sudden, either you have to give up more, or you got to find another team that's willing to take on and help you orchestrate this trade. Again, things can kind of change rather quickly in this league. Now, I do think that everyone in all sides will be doing good business. I do think that there is the potential of this trade getting expanded, right? So, right off the bat, the Knicks are shopping Mitchell Robinson and are currently trying to find different deals, and they're taking calls and they're fielding calls. They may end up having, depending on what they want to get or what they're looking for in return of Mitchell Robinson, they may end up having to make this an expanded trade, right? They may end up having to, if they want to take on more salary than Mitchell Robinson, right? They may have to finagle some numbers and give some teams other guys, or maybe they include like a deuce in a trade or something. So the fact that the Knicks are actively shopping and trying to find a place for Mitchell Robinson, right, that doesn't mean that they'll necessarily trade him, but they're at least considering the idea, likely for a healthier center is my guess, right? Because Mitchell Robinson is expected to miss till December, January, the earliest That doesn't mean that he'll be back in December or January. It just means that he's expected to be back around that time. That's the target date that they're shooting for. But Mitchell Robinson wants to take his time. He doesn't want to rush back. The Knicks have said that they don't want to see Mitchell Robinson rush back, right? Because you want him as healthy as possible. You'd rather him miss the first 30, 40 games so he can play the last, 52 to 42 games. Than him, rush back, miss, say, 20 games, and then only play 10, and then he misses the last 52 games, right? You don't want something like that to happen. And now it's like, man, we really needed him for the playoffs, really needed him to be healthy the back end of the season as we're making our push for seeding or all that, right? So it would make sense to, yes, you like Mitchell Robinson. Yes, when he's healthy, he does everything that you need for the Knicks. His one of the best offensive rebounders in the entire NBA, can block shots, floor running big, right? Big physical type center. He makes a lot of sense for a Knicks team, particularly in that backup role, and even alongside Karl Anthony Towns, right? Because Karl Anthony Towns' shooting ability, you can slot him in at the 4, and you could even do something where you have like a bigger lineup of like Brunson, who isn't very big, but Mikal Bridges at the 2 is a big 2, with OG at the 3, and then go Cat at the 4, and then Mitchell at the 5. Be a really good, versatile, sizable, switchable, defensive, offensive, balanced type of starting 5. So there very well could be just an expansion in regards to Mitchell Robinson and kind of the direction in which the Knicks are looking to kind of acquire other players. They've been interested in the Hornets, Nick Richards, right? So maybe they can work something out there. Maybe they're still in negotiations with like Charlotte, try to expand this trade, right? There's obviously other avenues, other paths to where maybe this gets expanded into like a 4-team trade. The more teams involved, the more difficult it could get. But you already got the 3 basically done, locked up, signed, sealed, delivered. You're just kind of adding that other team. It's almost like a separate trade, but you're just kind of tacking it on to this 3-team trade. That's a little easier than like, 4 teams are negotiating various pieces and you're trying to, okay, we want this, well, they want this, and they want, and it just can kind of get chaotic and crazy. And that's usually where teams end up falling apart, right? It's the same 3 teams trades or where trades go to die, right? Like, same thing with 4 and expanded. But, like I said, the 3 main pieces are already done, locked up. Everyone knows what they're getting. Everyone knows what they want. So, if the Knicks wanted to expand it, then they're just kind of finding that individual trade, but maybe, Charlotte gets an extra piece or something, because Minnesota, they're kind of in a bind as well as the Knicks, so not much there. But same side as the Knicks, you could look at maybe Minnesota. Now, Julius Randle is not expected to be ready for training camp, right? He's still rehabbing his shoulder and stuff, so he's not expected to be ready for training camp. He's not expected to be ready for preseason, and there's questions on if he's even going to be ready to start the regular season. So, again, maybe Minnesota's looking at Randle and going, well, maybe we can move him to another team and get some other pieces that make some sense, or maybe clear off some roster, some salary cap for next season, because Randle could opt in, and that could, kind of keep them in a position. And there's also questions about Randle and his fit, like how does he fit alongside the Timberwolves, especially if he can't stretch the floor and knock down threes. Now, there is more to floor spacing than just shooting threes, but with Rudy Gobert kind of packing the paint, and, if Julius Randle shooting low 30s to mid 30s from 3, right, it could end up causing some troubles, could end up causing some issues. I know a lot of Wolves fans seem to be split. Some think that Randle makes no sense on the Timberwolves. Some think he makes more sense than Karl Anthony Towns, and that the Wolves are going to be the best team in the NBA. But there are still some questions, right? You don't know. And even just health concerns with Julius Randle. So, maybe Minnesota's looking to turn Julius Randle into something, right? As soon as this trade went down, there were kind of murmurs going around of like Minnesota may look to trade Julius Randle. Again, it wasn't really like what I would consider like concrete reports or anything like that. But there was talk kind of floating in the ether of like Minnesota, maybe they look to move Julius Randle now. So maybe that's something where they're looking to reroute Randle elsewhere and maybe get some other pieces. And then you could start Naz Reid at the 4, right? Because Naz Reid, he's a guy that they're really high on and kind of allows you to trade Karl Anthony Towns, kind of gives you that luxury. And then you could slot Naz at the 4. Maybe you're looking to turn Julius Randle into some bench depth, right? Maybe you're looking to turn Julius Randle into 2 or 3 pieces that can, you know, kind of round out, make your team even deeper for the regular season, all 82 games, and then a playoff run. Also, Julius Randle, he has playoff concerns. He's a guy that is not super reliable and been super dependable come playoff time, right? When he does play, he's not very good, and also he's been injured a lot come playoff time. So it is kind of those questions of like, you know, is he a guy that you can rely on and count on to kind of make that playoff push, you know, and kind of make a deep run? You were just in the conference finals. If you're Minnesota, you're looking to, you don't want to lose in the first or second round or just get back to the conference. You're looking to try to get into the NBA finals and then potentially win an NBA championship, right? So that is something. Also, Donte DiVincenzo. Now, based on reports that came out after, Donte DiVincenzo was supposedly unhappy in New York, and he wasn't as thrilled about the Villanova Knicks as what was perceived to be. Again, we don't know. I mean, he hasn't came out and been like, yeah, I wasn't, like, we just are going off of reports and murmurs that were out there. And so they kind of looked at like, hey, let's trade him now. So there is no chemistry issues. So there are no problems. So, you know, we don't have, like, everybody's on the same page. Plus you got like Deuce, right? Like you're in a position where you can kind of unload him and kind of live with that. Also that supposedly, they believe Landry Shamet, that he's a guy that can actually kind of make an impact. So we'll see how that, if that turns out to be true. But assuming that those reports are true and they aren't just like made up out of left field, you know, him going to Minnesota, I mean, how much more is he playing? Right? Like, it's not like the Timberwolves don't have a bunch of guards already, and they have Rob Dillingham, who they, you know, you'd imagine you'd want to get him some real run, give him some real opportunity. Do they maybe start DiVincenzo over Mike Conley at some point? Possibly. But even then, it's like Mike Conley really fits what they want to do, where DiVincenzo's kind of best in that 6-man role, where he can kind of just play his game and be that vacuum scorer. So maybe Minnesota, maybe they're looking to move off of DiVincenzo, right? Maybe they're looking to move him to a team that he'd get more opportunity and get more playing time, or maybe even potentially get a starting position. That could be something, right? This is a guy that, you know, I believe is best in that like backup role. You know, obviously it depends on the team, but I think if you're talking about a team that is looking to win, I just think DiVincenzo, his style of play, his game, what he wants to do is probably best off the bench, where you can kind of just let him go. Where it's like you just kind of give him the green light and you say, go have fun. And he can kind of just live his best life out there on the basketball court, getting buckets, you know, giving you that random 30-point game a night on any given night, right? Like that is something. So my guess is that either A, they're expanding, or they're looking to expand either side, maybe even both, or B, you know, it's just they're kind of just doing their due diligence. And this will eventually get finalized. But it is a bit concerning. It is a big question. And obviously with Media Day, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, and I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Are you surprised by this news? Are you not surprised by this news? What do you think the deal is? You know, let's all kind of, you know, have a fun conversation, and I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on the matter. How you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.